TomoNews presents Indonesia.
Indonesian college girl caned in public just for being near a male student. A young college student in Indonesia was publicly caned for indecency on Monday in the courtyard of Baiturrahman Mosque in Banda Aceh. 20-year-old Rabitah was punished under Sharia Law for being in close proximity to a male university student, 23-year-old Wahyudi Saputra, because he is not her husband or her relative. Aceh implemented a Sharia-based law system in 2003 after becoming a special autonomous region during a long period of revolt against Indonesia's government. Morality police ensure no one, especially women, violate Sharia law. On the day of Rabitah's public caning, crowds, including women, were heard cheering as she walked on stage. Rabitah was forced to kneel before she received 5 strokes of the cane. Her friend was forced to stand while being caned 5 strokes too. Aceh authorities said the public punishment should be taken as a lesson by everyone.
Rare Sumatran rhino gives birth. An endangered rhino has given birth, and it was caught on camera. The 14-year-old rhino named Ratu gave birth at the Sumatran Rhino Sanctuary in Indonesia. The video begins with the rhino prepping for delivery. Ratu actually has experience in this area. She gave birth to her first calf in 2012. The male named Andatu was the first rhino birth in captivity in Indonesia in 124 years. Then the video cuts to... Yep, that's what a rhino looks like being born. Surprisingly purple. According to the International Rhino Foundation, the female calf weighed in at 45 pounds, or 20 kilograms, and looks healthy and active. Only an estimated 100 Sumatran rhinos remain, mostly on the island of Sumatra, and several are in captivity. The birth is a significant success for efforts to save the endangered species. Congrats, Ratu!
Hey, pallbearers, you forgot something.
Indonesia may use crocodiles to guard maximum security inmates. Indonesia's anti-drugs chief, Budi Waseso, has come up with a brilliant idea of using crocodiles as prison guards for an island lockup that would house only death row inmates convicted of drug trafficking. Indonesia has some of the harshest penalties for drug trafficking, including death. The island where the prison would be hasn't been selected yet, but Waseso says he will search the archipelago to find the most ferocious type of croc and put as many as he can on the island. The use of crocs would certainly cut down on the number of corrupt prison guards and unruly prisoners alike. One valid reason for using crocodiles as guards is that they have no interest in taking bribes, and they wouldn't benefit from letting certain inmates escape. Waseso is quoted as saying, "We will keep sending them food supplies every day, but they have to survive on their own. The crocodiles might not take money bribes, but they would probably turn their back for a flank steak." The plan sounds a little half-baked. The location and opening date have not been decided yet.
Migrant workers' kidneys stolen. But government says not so fast. A 25-year-old Indonesian woman is at the center of a horrifying and strange story going viral in that country. Rabitah claims one of her kidneys was stolen by her boss while she was employed as a domestic helper in Qatar. But the Indonesian government claims that nope, she still has both her kidneys. The story began when Sri worked as a housekeeper in Qatar in 2014. The poor young woman claims she was routinely forced to work without rest from 5 a.m. to 3 a.m. After just a week, her boss had Sri transferred, where she began caring for her employer's parents. After some time of this grueling work, her employer took her to the hospital for a medical checkup. Sri says a nurse or doctor gave her an injection that put her to sleep. Hours later, Sri awoke to find herself connected to IV lines and lying on a hospital bed. She says she noticed a sutured surgical wound on the right of her stomach. Following the hospital incident, Sri was sent without pay back to Indonesia, where her health became progressively worse. She says new hospital x-rays revealed something shocking. She appeared to be missing a kidney. The story exploded, and with many Indonesian citizens employed as domestic workers around the world, the government stepped in. After investigating x-rays and domestic medical records, it was confirmed that yes, Sri does have both kidneys, though a plastic urinary tube was implanted without her knowledge. Sri apologized for jumping to conclusions, but the case remains under investigation. The Indonesian government has sought information from Qatar as to why an unwanted operation was performed. Not all the facts are in. Bizarre baby-eating art project gets slammed. #Mukan Mayit, or Eat Corpse, is a name Indonesian artist Natasha Gabrielle Tonti has given her latest project. Her exhibition opened on February 25th in a restaurant in South Jakarta. Tickets to the event, in which patrons dine on food resembling brains and dead babies, will set you back about $40. The work has drawn condemnation from government ministers and the general public, who say her art has crossed a line. Photos of the work have gone viral. One dessert, a red blob of pudding, looks very similar to a fetus. Natasha's point, apparently, is to invite patrons to experience the sensation of eating a baby. Natasha has said that her art project is part of a social experiment. She wants to see the public's reaction to cannibalism. Well, netizens, overwhelmingly disgusted by the idea, have called Natasha a psychopath. The artist has shot back that psychopathy and cannibalism have long been a part of being human. So take that, trolls! Okay, sure, art can be a medium through which to examine and critique social norms, but what social issue does this exhibit really address? Or is it simply a poorly thought out, cheap stunt? Artistic expression is important, but are the boundaries of, taste worth considering? What do you think? Bali police fatally shoot former MMA fighter. Amokian Sabeh, a former mixed martial artist, was gunned down by Indonesian police on Monday in Bali after fatally stabbing a cop. The 49-year-old French national was already said to be arrested for misconduct after several complaints over his erratic behavior. When police arrived at his residence, Sabeh came out of his house carrying a knife and resisted arrest. At one point, Sabeh fatally stabbed a police officer 8 times in the neck, chest, and thigh. The police then fired several warning shots, but Sabeh ignored them. Police were ultimately forced to shoot Sabeh. Sabeh had been living in Bali for 2 years and had apparently made a lot of trouble for locals. Police had summoned him to the police station several times, but he never appeared. An investigation also revealed that he'd overstayed his visa.
Lion found hanging in cage in Indonesian zoo. Indonesia's Surabaya Zoo, sadly also known as the world's cruelest zoo, has seen another tragedy. An 18-month-old lion called Michael was found dead with his head stuck between steel cables. The zoo denied negligence, saying animals must have been playing around. The lion's body was removed before police were able to examine it and cannot be found now. Bizarrely, merely 24 hours earlier, a wildebeest died in its enclosure from a stomach problem. The zoo blamed the wet weather for the death. Among the cruelties, one tiger last year died after its digestive tract was destroyed by the formaldehyde-laced meat it ate. A total of 43 animals died at the zoo between July and September last year. Dozens of petitions have been filed pleading for the zoo to shut down, but the Surabaya mayor-led management team has resisted making improvements.
Indonesian pilot fired for attempting to fly drunk. A budget airline in Indonesia is under investigation after one of its pilots was caught trying to fly a commercial Airbus while intoxicated. On December 28th, the tipsy pilot, 32-year-old Takad Purna, successfully bypassed security checkpoints, stumbling through the metal detector and dropping personal items along the way. The pilot then entered the cockpit and began making a largely incomprehensible pre-flight announcement that unnerved some, if not all, of the 154 passengers on board. Not wanting to put their lives in the hands of a flight captain barely able to string a sentence together, several passengers walked off the plane. Concerned, the passengers reported the pilot's strange behavior to CityLink airline staff, who then quickly had the pilot removed and replaced. The flight took off about an hour behind schedule, but better late than dead. The president and operational director of CityLink have both resigned over the incident, and the pilot has been fired as the investigation continues. 1 year ago, AirlineRatings.com ranked CityLink among the bottom 10 of the world's major airlines with the lowest safety ratings, 9 of which were from Indonesia. Since 2001, a reported 40 air accidents in Indonesia have resulted in fatalities. Factors for the country's failings range from outdated equipment and planes to runways that are too short. A shortage of skilled pilots, ground personnel, and most notably, air traffic controllers is also to blame, with only 1,400 people charged with monitoring the more than 10,000 Indonesian flights per day. According to an MIT statistician, 1 out of 1 million airline passengers will die on board an Indonesian flight, 25 times the death rate of airlines in the United States. That's not good.
28-year-old man marries 80-year-old woman because why not? Love knows no age, apparently. That's clearly what 28-year-old Sofian believed when he married Martha Bate, a grandmother 80 years young, in the Indonesian city of Manado. News of this unusual couple's marriage went viral when it was widely shared by Facebook users this week. Sofian told media it began when he received a call last year from an unknown number. The caller turned out to be Martha, who he believed to be around his own age. Exactly how Martha got Sofian's number, he wouldn't say, but their phone chats continued until the day Sofian decided he would meet this mystery woman. As you might expect, the woman who greeted him in Manado was not what he was expecting. Still, they hit it off and began seeing each other romantically. Sofian says Martha was his first ever girlfriend, and true to his beliefs, he did the honorable thing and married her on February 18th. Raise a glass to the happy couple.
Indonesian teens caught riding each other. Police in Indonesia's second biggest city, Surabaya, caught 2 teenagers having sex on a motorbike early on Monday morning. Allow us to tell you about it. The Batam Tribune News reports that the horny kids rode to a dark area in the dead of night, which they assumed would offer some privacy. Unluckily for them, 2 cops were in the vicinity and noticed something screwy. Bad timing, as the teens were caught mid-coitus using the motorbike as a platform. The pair, aged 15 and 17, were swiftly arrested and hauled off to the local police station. Under interrogation, the teens admitted to having had intercourse 3 times after meeting through Facebook. The teens received a stern talking to and were released. Because hey, no harm done, right?
Families mourn deaths of Bali Nine pair after execution. They asked for mercy, but there was none. Those are the words from the families of 2 Australians executed in Indonesia for drug smuggling. Andrew Chan and Myuran Sukumaran were killed by firing squad on Tuesday night for attempting to smuggle heroin out of Indonesia in 2005. Despite mercy pleas from the Australian government, families and prominent Aussies, Indonesia went ahead with the executions. The families said in a joint statement, "In the 10 years since they were arrested, they did all they could to make amends, helping many others. The pair were caught trying to smuggle over 8.3 kilograms of heroin from Indonesia to Australia with 7 other Aussies in 2005, earning the group the name the Bali Nine. Indonesian authorities found Chan and Sukumaran to be the leaders of the group and sentenced them to death in 2006. According to the Sydney Morning Herald, in high school Chan and Sukumaran had only been a few years apart. Sukumaran had worked as a mail clerk and enjoyed martial arts, but eventually fell into drug use. After meeting Chan at a party, the two were soon smuggling drugs together. For Chan on Monday evening, he was finally permitted to marry his fiancée just days before his execution.
Indonesian woman beaten for violating religious law. Engaging in sexual relations outside of marriage? For 4 unlucky people in Indonesia's deeply conservative Aceh province, better believe that was a caning. Linda Damawati is one of the 4, and on February 2nd, she received her punishment, 26 lashes. Local media report that Linda was accused and convicted of having a sexual relationship out of wedlock. That's an offence in Aceh, where certain crimes are subject to the province's Islamic Sharia legal code. It's not known who ratted on the pair, but the authorities soon learned of their affair. Linda and her lover were both arrested and ultimately sentenced to more than 24 strikes of the cane. The pair and another couple were hauled out and publicly flogged in front of a mosque in the provincial capital, Banda Aceh. US-based Human Rights Watch reports the Aceh government has expanded the reach of Sharia law since 2015. It says 339 people were subjected to corporal punishment last year alone. Indonesia's own Institute for Criminal Justice Reform has urged the government to abolish the practice, which it condemns as abusive. Public canings in Aceh have drawn international media coverage, but the Institute's pleas have fallen on deaf ears in the Aceh government.
Motorcyclist hit by car at intersection in Indonesia. Viral security camera video shows a terrible nighttime road accident at an intersection in the Indonesian city of Bandung on February 20th. As the video shows, a car enters the intersection at high speed without giving way. The doomed motorcyclist has no time to avoid the collision. The impact sends the rider flying over a tall fence and into a wall of a residence. The rider, who's been identified as 32-year-old Irfan Taufik, died at the scene from severe head trauma. His motorcycle was totaled. After reviewing the security camera footage and speaking with witnesses, police have named the driver of the white car as a criminal suspect. Be careful out there on the roads, people.
A stampede at an Indonesian stadium has killed at least 18 and injured more than 40. A large crowd was in attendance for a local boxing match. Supporters of the losing boxer threw chairs at the judges. Supporters of the winner retaliated, throwing bottles and chairs back. The violence panicked spectators who rushed out of the building. The stadium had 5 exits, but at the time only 2 were open. Victims were crushed to death in the stampede.